Hey everyone, I hope you had a great day. Today we are looking at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. Please let me know what you think about today's stories. The first story is called Read Your Contracts First. A few years ago, my business partner and I rented our remodeled garage space to run our business out of. The owner had not rented to our business before, so she needed to get a different contract ready for us. A while later, we decided to close the business. We informed the landlord and were told we would still need to pay monthly until the end of our contract. I asked if we could transfer the contract to a new tenant and we would be willing to do the legwork there. She wouldn't allow it. We asked if there was a clause for buying our way out of the contract. She said no. We tried a few other options, but all she wanted was for us to continue paying until the contract was up. I was skeptical that the contract had no provisions for early termination, but I couldn't get to my copy of the contract. It was stored somewhere safely off-site. So I asked her for a copy, and she obliged. While on the phone discussing our options, I noticed that because she had to find a new contract for us, since we were a business, not an individual, she hadn't proofread as well as she thought. I read a few paragraphs of the contract she provided that clearly states that our contract is month to month, not annual. She got notably irate and swore that was the wrong contract. I pointed out that the contract she sent had both of our signatures on it, and she is welcome to take this to court if she feels that is necessary. We never heard from her again until we had to drop off the keys. The next story is called You Want to Increase the Rent? A few years ago, my best friend and I rented a tiny 2-bedroom flat together. The place was kind of terrible. My friend's room had a hole cut into the walls, so the last foot of the bed would fit. This became a mantelpiece in the next room. The kitchen was the size of a child's playhouse kitchen. And the upstairs neighbors spent all hours of the day and night screaming at each other or loudly hugging. But we were mostly happy, because we were overliving with over 6 other people. We paid £75 a week each, plus bills for this place, which was pretty standard for a 2-bed flat in our area. Then, 6 months into our 1-year contract, the landlord sold the terraced house, our flat, and 5 others was a part of to a middle-aged married couple who were first-time landlords. They were the kind of people who thought they were smarter than everybody else. And I got the impression they thought property management was going to be the easiest thing ever. We had no problem throughout the sale process. We were assured nothing would change. We didn't interact with the landlord before anyway. Then, 2 weeks after the sale, we got an email from the couple saying that we owed them £20 each more a week. Basically, in our contract it stated our rent was £75 each a week, about 10 times. But there was a typo where it said our rent was £95 each. So they said they could legally charge us £95. We laughed at this, but when it became clear they were serious, we reached out to the letting agent. We got them to put in writing that it was a typo, that our rent was always £75, and they even gave us the original advert for the flat with the correct rent on it. We thought this would be the end of it. We were wrong. The couple insisted on coming to our flat for an in-person meeting. When they got there, they said that they asked the old landlord about it. And he was shocked that we had not been paying enough for 6 months now, and the rent was always £95. I didn't buy this because they had nothing in writing. But I made the argument that of course he would say that, because he wouldn't want it to seem like he sold under false pretenses. And if we had been underpaying by a total of like £160 a month, why had he never spoke to us about it? They said that he was a busy guy with too many properties. Then the husband spent ages condescendingly explaining mortgages to us. Then they declared that if we did not start paying them the higher rent, they would evict us and we had 24 hours to pay or 30 days to get out, and they left. Honestly, I think they saw 2 20-year-old girls and thought they could scare us into paying more money. What they didn't know is that my friend and I are very pleasant until you mess with us and we become vindictive. We decided that night that if they wanted to evict us from this hole, we were gonna make them do it properly. And if they were so pedantic about contracts and rules, we were going to stop letting anything slide. The couple woke up the next morning with an email from our lawyer, my flatmate's brother, a bored lawyer with time on his hand. He was requesting a formal eviction notice in writing and laying out a record of last night's conversation. The thing was, they didn't actually have legal grounds to evict us. And even if we went to court and a judge favored their interpretation of the contract, we were advised this was unlikely, we still didn't owe them more than a month's rent. And this would have been the only legal way of evicting us, because we were otherwise great tenants. By 9:15 am they were ringing us, but we ignored them and emailed that our lawyer had advised us to only communicate in writing. We then sent an email informing them that the fancy new front door they just installed could not be unlocked from the inside without a key, and that this violated fire safety laws, and unfortunately if this wasn't rectified ASAP, we would have to report it. We then sent texts that showed them repeatedly entering our flat with less than 24-hour notice, and did they know that this was illegal? Maybe we should talk to the other tenants, because if they are doing this to everyone, then this could be quite a problem. After about 3 days of this, we received a very nice email saying that they don't agree our rent was supposed to be £75 each a week. But they would graciously allow us to finish out our contract at that rate. By this point we found a flat triple the size for £80 each a week and wanted out of that hamster cage. So we offered to move if they signed mutual surrender forms. They eagerly agreed. The best part was that they stubbornly tried to rent that flat out at the higher rate, despite us telling them it was a terrible idea. The flat was empty for over a year. And because they had agreed to end our contract early, they got stuck paying the council tax, not me. I hope you enjoyed today's video so far. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like the video, don't forget to press the like button. It really helps. And now, on to the last story. The last story is called Not a Tenant. A few years ago I was looking for a place to live, and I came across an interesting advertisement looking for property guardians. The idea behind property guardians is that disused buildings are far more secure if they are occupied. So owners of empty properties will allow people to live there temporarily for an incredibly cheap price. So the guardian gets to live in a usually quite interesting disused building incredibly cheaply, and the owner makes a small additional bit of income and has someone keeping their eye on the place. This arrangement is usually done through a third-party guardian company who acts as the intermediary. This particular advert was for a pub that had recently closed. My interest piqued, so I went along to a viewing. The space was huge, and they were only asking for a few £100, all bills included. So I went for it, along with a group of other people. We all picked our rooms. I got the bar area, a huge room with ensuite ladies and gents toilets, a big fireplace and cozy pub decor. We also had full use of the sizable pub kitchen, beer cellar, dishwashing room, double garage, car park and a massive garden with a barbecue area. For the most part, it was a great gig. I got to live in a pub, have all the space I wanted, and as the building was due to be destroyed, we could pretty much do what we liked with the internals. I put up curtains and temporary walls and made it my cozy home for the next couple of years. Other guardians moved in and out over the months, but I and a couple of others were there for the long term. Aside from the odd, dodgy person coming and going, all was pretty cushy. The owner of the guardian company, and thus the person I paid my rent to, was a large, red-faced man who was quite full of himself. He tended to be quite bossy and sometimes aggressive, but I stayed out of his way. As long as I paid my rent and didn't cause him trouble, he left me alone. All until the end of the tenancy. I had moved out, returned my keys, and I was awaiting the return of my security deposit. At some point, a car had been dumped on the property. I hadn't noticed because one of the previous guardians, who I will call Rob, had pushed it round to the back of the property and had been working on it. I just assumed it was his car. The first of the emails from the guardian company reads, "The Volvo dumped in the car park was not reported to us and must be removed from the site." Rob has declined to take responsibility for the vehicle and has alleged it was reported to the police. And yet, none of you have reported to us on such a serious issue. I would suggest that it be placed on the public highway, and then the police will deal with whoever owns the vehicle. Wait, did you just incite us to commit fly tipping? I emailed back and said the car wasn't my responsibility and thus I won't be moving it. Things went back and forth like this for a while, with the owner insisting that we are all responsible. The next email was something like this. Stop arguing, as I don't care, and if it's not gone, then you will all be accountable for the issue. Rob was contacted and has said it's not his, and now the burden falls on all of you that knew about the car and failed to report it. At this point, I mentioned the small claims court as an idle threat to see what would happen. Another email. You have failed to report an incident that is something that is detrimental to the property. You are in breach of the license for failing to do so. Happy to see you in court and explaining that you report into the building to act as security by occupation, and while there you failed to report a dumped car. Right, it's on. I pulled out the contract and went back over it with a fine-tooth comb. At this point, another email came through. Dear all, please be aware that you were all under license at the property and not tenants. So you had no tenancy rights, as is clearly stated in the license that you all agreed to and signed. Under the license, you act as security for the property and were responsible for reporting any incidents. You also were responsible for keeping the property safe, secure, and as stated, any items left will be charged for removal. The items left were dumped outside and certainly were not there throughout your time on site and must have been placed there by one or more of you. This email was accompanied by photographs of even more stuff that other guardians had left in the property, things like furniture. But I wasn't going to be responsible for any of their stuff. This guy thought he could bully us out of our money because we didn't have a legal tenancy and were therefore not covered by UK laws protecting tenants. I wasn't going down without a fight. We may not be covered by tenants' rights, so everything would fall back to basic contract law. I found the interesting parts of the occupation license agreement that I had with the Guardian company. Damage security payment means the amount payable by the Guardian to cover the cost of any damages caused by the Guardian, but not anybody else. And since this contract is between myself and the Guardian company with no jointly and severally liable clause, I can't be held responsible for anyone else's mess. Great, but there's more. This one is interesting. Section 3.1. The Guardian company provides services to property owners to, among other benefits, secure premises against trespassers and protect such premises from damage. The Guardian company has agreed to provide such services to the owner in respect of the property. So we don't provide security. That's the responsibility of the Guardian company, which we are not a part of. But wait, there's more. Section 10.1.10. The Guardian will not remove anything from the property other than things that he or she brought there. Boom! Gotcha! I fired back an email. Please see section 3.1 of the license agreement signed by myself and the Guardian company owner. It stipulates that you, the Guardian company, provide security, not us, the Guardians. Please also see section 10.1.10. Given that I did not bring either the car or the furniture onto the property, it would in fact be a breach of your own license agreements for me to remove it. In this case, I will be complying with your contract and thus will not remove the items that I did not bring onto the property. Please return my security deposit within 3 working days or I will be forced to take legal action. The response. At this point, we are happy to see you in court, and please do not contact us unless via your solicitor, as we will be charging for our time to deal with such matters. If you can demonstrate who is responsible for leaving the items for us to deal with, we will look at this. But as stated previously, these items were not there previously and have dumped them outside. All of you failed to report the car. Sounds like he was shaken up a little and probably hoped I was bluffing. Unfortunately for him, I wasn't. I filed court papers after 3 working days. He caved as soon as he received the court papers and realized that I wasn't bluffing. He repaid our deposits along with my court fees the very next day. Victory! Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. And if you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye bye.